Okay, everybody, last part of an essay is the conclusion. And if you recall, we talked about the funnel method for the intro paragraph where you go from the abstract to the specific. Well, guess what? The conclusion is its opposite. Now it's the like an upside down funnel or a triangle going the other way. And so it goes from the specific to the more abstract or the universal. Okay, so here's a quick little description and example. And then I'm going to give you guys an outline also when you write your big essay for all the parts. Okay, so with that being said, let's get going. So the purpose of a conclusion paragraph is that it just summarizes your entire essay but concisely, which means short, sweet, to the point, no fluff. Okay? But you are just kind of reminding everybody of your whole argument that you just went into flushed out detail with your body paragraphs. And this is a chance to, have that final push to convince your reader that your thesis claim, that your argument is a reasonable one, that it's justifiable, that it's a good one. You may or may not convince them about everything, but this is your chance to make them go, good point. I see what you mean. Okay. So it's a final chance, right? And it's also the final chance to make your readers care about what you were writing about. If you don't care, they don't care, right? You need to somehow appeal to your reader in some way, emotionally, intellectually, to get them to go, yeah, this matters. This matters to me on some level. This is important for some reason that may apply to me or people I care about or my world in some way. And it's also a chance for you to offer some kind of food for thought for the reader, what's known as the so what, a kind of mic drop at the end to make them walk away and ruminate on. Ruminate is a word to mean like to chew, right? And we use that as a metaphorical way of saying you keep thinking about it and you really kind of walk away and you can't just let it go and forget everything that you just read. So it's a way to leave a lasting impression and to really get into your reader's mind, to leave that lasting impression. Okay, good essays do that. They make you go, wow. So that's what you're doing here. So it's not very long though. It's only 3 to 5 sentences. You don't gotta go crazy. Just like an intro paragraph, shouldn't be too long. It should be like bread on a sandwich where the body paragraphs are the meat and the vegetables and the spread. And it should be much more to it in the middle than the beginning and the end, the bread. Okay? So, let's talk about the parts. The top, you always want to have that transition. Remember, if you want to smooth everything out, you need a transitional phrase to show that you're concluding. However, do not ever use the phrase in conclusion. All teachers hate it. All educated readers hate it. It's so overused. It is dead. It's over. It's done. It's like dabbing. Let's stop. Okay. And then reiterating your thesis in a new way. Reiterate means to, say it again. But you don't want to repeat word for word what your thesis was, but you do want to look back up at your thesis in your intro and think, how can I say this in a new way? But pretty much saying the same points. Okay. Then you want to summarize your points from your reasons in your thesis that you just supported in your body paragraphs. Okay. And your topic sentences, if you did them right, should be a clue to help you summarize that. So if you've forgotten, you go back up, look at your topic sentences and go, oh yeah. Or you should be looking at your reasons in your thesis. That'll help you, again, summarize what your main points were. You should not be adding new information, just briefly explaining again what you just argued. Okay. And then you want to connect back to that abstract idea in your hook. In that first sentence of your essay, you want to come full circle, right? You want to come right back to it. Okay, that's what good storytelling, good writing does, is it makes it feel complete. It closes the loop. When you start an essay, it's like you've opened a loop and you want to make it come right back. Okay? Complete that circle. And as I said, you want to land on a so what, a mic drop, a way to get the audience to kind of go, huh. And this is where you can kind of add a little bit, and you want to make sure that's kind of connecting to your audience. Now, you don't want to use the word you. That could be aggressive, or you could miss your mark, and then you've kind of like, instead of dropped a mic, let the air out of your balloon, just kind of goes. So you don't want to do that. But you do want to say something that's kind of profound or important to make the reader really go, yeah, I think that this is really important. This matters. Okay, so those are all the parts. There's 5 parts to it. Okay. So here's an example. Continuing from the thesis that I've been using as my example essay from before. So I have my transitional phrase. It is clear to see now that, okay, so it doesn't have to be like in conclusion, to sum up, but there's some kind of phrase letting as a signal that I'm ending this thing. So it's showing a conclusion by saying it is clear now, right? That, and then here's my reiteration of my thesis. Social media has many pitfalls that should make parents, legislators, and educators pause when allowing young persons unlimited access to it. Because remember, we're trying to say social media is dangerous for 3 reasons. That was my thesis. And then these are the reasons I had in my thesis that I argued in my body paragraphs. So I'm summarizing this. Due to the harmful increases not only in anxiety and depression, that was one reason, but also suicidal ideation and actions, that was my second reason, as well as its devastating effects on intellectual development at school, that was my third reason, though I'm saying it in new ways. And then again, I'm kind of giving a solution, a call to action here. Social media apps clearly should be limited with children under 19. And then I get to my abstract, right? So I go from my thesis to my abstract point. So I'm kind of connecting back to my hook. And I say, ultimately, which is another good concluding transitional phrase, ultimately, we will be failing our duty as protective guardians of the next generations if we do not help save them from themselves, knowing how the addictive and mind-numbing, oops, I have a typo in there, erase the, knowing how addictive and mind-numbing these apps can be for everyone. Okay? And the message is clear, so here's my mic drop, right? And which can be a call to action, right? Or an appeal to guilt, or pride, or love, or shame, or anger, whatever, that kind of emotional appeal at the end to try to touch at the audience's heart and mind. I say, the message is clear. Limit cell phone use for adolescents, or we may soon regret the sad state of affairs that we are allowing our children to suffer through from this fairly new technology. All right, so put that all together, and you've got a really strong concluding paragraph once I get rid of that oopsie daisies on the. See how reading out loud is really helpful to see if it makes sense and flows? I caught a mistake right there. I was just typing this up, didn't read it out loud, and look at that. Whoopsies. So that's my number one piece of advice I hope you could walk away with from anything I've tried to teach you in summer school writing is read your stuff out loud if you have the chance. It really helps you hear the mistakes or the awkwardness. All right. Anyway, so there are some pitfalls you want to be careful about, some things you want to make sure to avoid in writing conclusion paragraphs. One, don't just restate the thesis word for word, as I said. That is boring. It is an instant signal that you are an immature writer, that you don't know what you're doing, and it makes your audience go, oh, that's just a kid. I don't need to listen to them, which that's biased and unfair. I'm sure you have lots of wisdom and truth to share with other people, but that's just the bias people have, and they're going to think, oh, it's just a kid. Or someone who's ignorant doesn't know what they're talking about. It's a huge signal that you're not an expert when you do that. So don't do it. Also, don't add any new arguments. This is a conclusion where you summarize, not add new stuff. If you add new stuff, it makes it feel like another body paragraph, and then it's confusing. Don't do it. So no, and you want to avoid you, as I said, or giving personal advice to us, like direct it at someone, especially if you're younger than them. Again, I know it's not fair and you might have good advice to give, but it just comes off as like wagging the finger at someone, and that tends to turn people off. So don't do that. You want to avoid sarcasm and any offensive language too. Don't do it. Okay. It's okay to have flavor and personality, but you gotta stay formal. And you want to avoid those personal pronouns besides you. You want to get rid. You don't want to say I think, or as you can see, I believe. None of that stuff. No I, me, mine. No you. But you could say they, them. Okay, that's not the same. That's third person. And then, as I said, no quotes or citations if you can help it. I know sometimes people like to land with like a famous expression from some person to kind of land on, and that's not necessarily wrong, but you don't want to be adding quotes or citations from the sources. It's one thing to take wisdom from someone as a kind of mic drop, but you don't want to add stuff from your sources because that's again like adding new arguments. So, your turn now. You're gonna write a conclusion paragraph. When you do your whole essay, you're going to take your thesis though from your practice one. You can make it up from just a thesis. You don't have to write a whole essay to do this. You just use your intro, flip it, change the wording a bit, and instead of a hook, you want to land on some kind of important call to action or important message to emotionally appeal to your audience about why your argument is important for them to understand. All right, your turn. See ya Monday.